ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਇਸ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਮੈਂ ਐਸੇ ਵਿਸ਼ੇ ਤੇ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਨ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਿ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਹਿਲਾ ਕੇ ਰੱਖ ਦੇਗਾ। ਚਾਈਲਡ ਸੈਕਸ ਟ੍ਰੈਫਿਕਿੰਗ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਵਿੱਚ ਬਹੁਤ ਤੇਜ਼ੀ ਨਾਲ ਵੱਧ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ।
People realize because young people today are online, they have devices, so they will share nudes. We call it sexting. And if they get money or something for that nude, they're actually being sex trafficked. Toronto and Montreal are the three global sex tourism hotspots. Canada is known as a child sex tourism destination. I mean, most people think 10 years ago, we would say there was about 5,000 that were being sex trafficked across Canada. Now it's about 50,000. So it's gone up. In a CBC studio, and she had been sex trafficked since she was 11 years of age, 11 in Canada, for 10 years straight, 7 days a week. She'd been put onto hard drugs and alcohol, so she was very addicted and servicing sexually men.
Communities that are more involved than others, or everybody is in?
She was a victim.
Right.
Robert Picton was the sex buyer and serial killer.
Yeah.
But Reza Mazami is from my neighborhood, where I live on the North Shore. He's Canada's #1 human trafficker. He's currently 23 years in jail, and he was sex trafficking 28 women and girls. 11 of them underage, 4 of them were from the North Shore, where I'm from. Now, people haven't heard of
ਵੈਲਕਮ ਟੂ ਦਿਸ ਐਪੀਸੋਡ ਆਫ ਦਾ ਹਰਪ੍ਰੀਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਸ਼ੋ। ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਇਸ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਮੈਂ ਐਸੇ ਵਿਸ਼ੇ ਤੇ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਨ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਿ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਹਿਲਾ ਕੇ ਰੱਖ ਦੇਗਾ। ਚਾਈਲਡ ਸੈਕਸ ਟ੍ਰੈਫਿਕਿੰਗ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਵਿੱਚ ਬਹੁਤ ਤੇਜ਼ੀ ਨਾਲ ਵੱਧ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਇਸ ਬਾਰੇ ਅੱਜ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਨੀ ਤੇ ਮੇਰਾ ਸਾਥ ਦੇਣਾ ਹੈ ਕੈਥੀ ਪੀਟਰਸ ਨੇ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਿ ਪਾਇਨੀਅਰ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ ਇਸ ਮੂਵਮੈਂਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ। ਇਹ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਵੇਅਰਨੈਸ ਕ੍ਰੀਏਟ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਤੇ ਇਹ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਚੇਤਾਵਨੀ ਦੇ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਜੇਕਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਨਾ ਸੰਭਲੇ ਤਾਂ ਸਮੱਸਿਆ ਬਹੁਤ ਗੰਭੀਰ ਹੋ ਜਾਏਗੀ। So let's welcome Cathy Peters and continue with our discussion. Cathy, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, first of all, for raising awareness in the communities about this serious issue about child sex trafficking. First of all, when we say about human trafficking, how do you describe it?
It's one word. It's exploitation. It's taking advantage of another person. But it's far more common than people realize because young people today are online. They have devices. So they will share nudes. We call it sexting. And if they get money or something for that nude, they're actually being sex trafficked. They don't know it. They just think it's awesome and cool to get something or some money for sending that nude. That is sex trafficking.
You have been raising awareness about this movement. I think over the past 1 decade, you have been coming forward and talking about issues. When you compare ourselves with today of 10 years ago, what happened in Canada, how do you see it? What has happened?
Well, the big change is exploded.
Right.
We've got a crime problem, and the FBI has recently come out to say Canada's got a crime problem and has cited Vancouver specifically. So in terms of child sex trafficking, it's not something Canadians talk about. We're very nice, gentle people. We're reserved. We don't talk about these nasty things. As a result, it's happening under the radar. And that's why I'm talking about it nonstop. So 10 years ago, we would say there was about 5,000 that were being sex trafficked across Canada. Now it's about 50,000. So it's gone up 10 times.
Wow.
And that's probably still conservative. It's probably much higher than that because people aren't reporting. They don't know how to report.
Right.
And we're not collecting the data.
When you talk about data, what does that mean? Does the government not have a data on all this? What's happening?
Well, there is not a focus, so they really haven't come up with the numbers. I mean, public safety has some numbers, but that's only if people bother to report.
Right.
And people generally are not reporting to the police. And that's what I need people to do. Report to the police if you suspect anything's going on.
Right. But I've heard that in the States, they do have the data.
They do have the data. This is amazing. State by state, they have the data.
Okay.
And there's a wonderful organization down in the States and called Shared Hope International.
Okay.
And the congresswoman down there is Linda Smith, who decided to make it a focus, the issue of focus, years ago. And so she's had every state collect data. And then she does a report card on how well they're doing in addressing it. So that's an incentive for the states to compete with each other. Who's going to deal with this crime?
Right.
And so it keeps getting better and better down in the States. We don't have that kind of incentive here in Canada. So we're just getting further and further behind.
Cathy, you have been raising your voice single-handedly for the past over decade. What made you come forward and speak about such an issue?
Well, you're going to laugh. My son got me into this, as children do.
Okay.
So he used to work for a former member of parliament from Manitoba, Joy Smith, who introduced our 3 human trafficking laws in Canada.
Right.
So he was working in her office and said to us, Mom and Dad, you've got to know what's going on in this country. You won't believe this. And then, Mom, we need you to come in and help. So I started to volunteer a bit. And I think what really did it was there was a young woman called Christine that Joy Smith got out. She was involved in an intervention, got her out of the sex industry. I heard her story in a CBC studio. And she had been sex trafficked since she was 11 years of age, 11 in Canada, for 10 years straight, 7 days a week. She'd been put onto hard drugs and alcohol, so she was very addicted and servicing sexually men, starting again at 11. When I heard her story, I was horrified. I didn't know this even happened in Canada. I had no idea. So I promised her I would stop it in British Columbia. So I guess I'm a mother bear. I'm a grandmother bear. I promised her I would stop it. I'm a teacher anyways. I'm an educator. I like to speak. I like to talk. I'm a little bit passionate, if you can tell. And I like to write, so that's why I wrote my book. And I just present as much as I can. I really focus on the politicians,
Right.
the police, and the public, those 3. And now I'm presenting to school boards, frontline service providers, hospitals, service clubs like Rotary, all different kinds of groups. So I'm just presenting pretty nonstop, just basically to raise awareness.
Is Canada becoming a child sex tourism destination?
It is. And it's Vancouver, Toronto, and Montreal are the 3 global sex tourism hotspots. And what nobody knows is Canada is known as a child sex tourism destination. I mean, most people think Cambodia, they think Thailand.
Yeah.
It is Canada. Why? Because we really don't have any deterrence for the criminals that are involved in this.
So what are the laws saying about this? What actually is the Canadian law as far as child sex trafficking is concerned?
We have an excellent federal law that came into place in 2014. That's really when I started my work talking about the law. It's called the Protection of Communities and Exploited Persons Act, or PSEPA. We also call it the Equality Model, and it copies what they've done in Sweden. Now, the only problem with here in Canada, we're not enforcing that law, and there really wasn't a national public awareness rollout campaign, which they have done in Sweden. So in Sweden, actually, they have really stopped this. So I say to people, it is possible to stop this.
Right.
We just need the public awareness. And that's why I so appreciate you inviting me to come and present.
You're welcome.
Because if media would pick up on this,
Right.
we could actually stop this quite quickly.
We talk in details about what all levels of government or the media is doing. But before that, what are the factors that you feel are leading to this issue?
Well, there's 4 factors. It's globalization. It's unregulated technology, no surprise. It's limited law enforcement. They just don't have the training or the funds.
Right.
And then there's just no prevention education. And that's where I come in. I'm a teacher anyways. And here's the thing. If we prevent this in the first place, you don't want anybody in the sex industry because they're not going to get out.
Right.
Or if they get out, they're going to be just very, very troubled, mentally ill, drug addicted, all the rest of it. They're frequently murdered. So I'm way upstream. Let's do the prevention piece. And the good news is you do have an organization in the South Asian community that are trying to raise this, which is wonderful.
Right.
So the key is, in my opinion, is the prevention education piece, which we've been lacking.
Right. Well, as you mentioned that generally the thinking is that Thailand or Cambodia, they are the hubs or the hotspots where sex tourism happens. But you say in Canada is number 1. Any particular communities that are more involved than others, or everybody is in this?
Hey, Harpreet, you're asking the really good questions.
Thank you.
The answer is the Lower Mainland. Really is a hot spot. Now, think of 3 names. Amanda Todd.
Yeah.
She was a victim.
Right.
Robert Picton was the sex buyer and serial killer.
Yeah.
But Reza Mazami is from my neighborhood where I live on the North Shore. He's Canada's #1 human trafficker. He's currently 23 years in jail, and he was sex trafficking 28 women and girls, 11 of them underage, 4 of them were from the North Shore where I'm from. Now, people haven't heard of his name so much, but everybody knows the name Amanda Todd. This is what this whole thing looks like right there. And then Robert Picton. We all know that name. So the sex, my point is, I want to keep this simple. The sex industry is deadly. It's deadly.
Yeah. Absolutely, there's no doubt about it, but their hands are, their outreach is quite a lot. But then again, when we talk about that Lower Mainland is a hub where you are saying all these activities are happening, we have diverse communities living over here. So what you're trying to say is that virtually everyone is involved in it?
Exactly. And the beauty of British Columbia, in my opinion, is our diversity.
Right.
I love that. I love all the different communities that I present to. I mean, whether it's the Indigenous, South Asian, the Asian communities, it doesn't matter. But every community is vulnerable. And British Columbia in particular is the worst in the country because we just don't have the deterrents for crime that need to be in place. Now, we all know, I mean, Kim Bolan on the Vancouver Sun talks about the fentanyl super labs that are popping up in this area.
Yeah.
That needs to be dealt with and it needs to be stopped. We need to bring laws in place to stop that. But along with drug trafficking goes sex trafficking. They go hand in hand. Why? You can sell drugs once, but you can sell a young girl or a young boy over and over and over and over again. So it's about the money. It's just about the money. Follow the money, and then you'll find out what's really going on.
So two things which, if you can clarify, one is that the local population is involved in this, or trafficking is happening from other countries and girls are being brought over here, and what age group is coming forward?
Okay, this is excellent. This is 93% of this is local.
Okay.
Local girls. So the recruiting is happening at our local elementary and high schools.
Elementary schools?
Elementary schools, think grade 6, grade 7, as young as grade 3, grade 4.
So they are probably 8 or 10 years old.
That's right. Very, very young. In the big city centers, now in the smaller communities, the ages are a bit older. We're saying 12, 13 years of age. But in these urban centers, the ages are getting younger and younger and younger.
Okay.
And so it's not that people are being brought. I mean, some are being brought, yes, but predominantly this is a local problem. We're talking about our local girls.
And along with that, the online presence, of course, that is what also is impacting.
Absolutely. I would say the majority of this is happening online. And I say to parents, don't give devices to your young children. Don't give them.
That is a major challenge in all the communities that parents are giving as young as even 2 years there. These mobile devices or other devices which they are getting addicted to, and then these issues come forward. I'll talk in details about that also, but before that you said Canadian law is strong. But if the law is strong, why there is no deterrence and why this is increasing every year?
Okay, again, excellent question. The law is strong, but it has to be enforced. And each province has to decide if they're going to enforce it or not.
Right.
So some provinces are stronger on this than others. So BC at this point are not that strong on enforcing it, whereas Alberta is much stronger. Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Ontario, Nova Scotia are all stronger on addressing this. British Columbia is really lagging behind. And again, I just point to the FBI. They pointed out Vancouver as a crime center. Again, fentanyl, but along with that goes the sex trafficking.
So, Cathy, is just the girls who are being trafficked, or boys also are being?
Boys also, but the money is the girls.
Okay.
The money is the girls. It's a smaller number of boys, but even that is increasing. And they're being lured on the video game sites.
Okay.
And so, and then people will have this, what is it called? I'm not very techie. Direct messaging with these young boys and get them to send nude photos of themselves.
Okay.
And then they are sex-exploited. They're exploited online.
Okay.
So we call that cyberbullying, cyber sextortion.
Absolutely. Well, we have already seen, especially in the community, South Asian community, also a lot of incidents happening where youngsters have taken their own lives just because of sextortion. And some of them were boys.
Exactly.
So what about the South Asian community? Do you get reports of South Asian community girls or boys also being involved in this traffic?
Very, very much so. I mean, you can tell me this. Do you have a gang problem in your South Asian community? I mean, gangs are very involved in this, again, because there's so much money involved.
Right.
I did present with the CORE movement. I'm very impressed with them. So they are reaching out particularly to the South Asian community, which I'm delighted with.
So now the question that arises is that law exists, but it is not being enforced. You're trying to create awareness at the municipal, provincial, and federal level. What kind of response have you been getting, especially from the politicians? Did you find someone really interested in coming forward, like you talked about the Manitoba, MP who came forward and talked about these issues? So, what kind of response are you getting?
Okay, you are asking such good questions. I would say overall it's the civic leaders that are responding the best because they live in their small communities.
Right.
Overwhelmingly, I'm getting support from them. So I go to something called the UBCM convention, which is every couple of years. It's where all the local politicians come, and I will have a booth, and I will have a lineup of people that will be talking to me. So the civic leaders, the mayors, are very, very supportive of what I'm doing. So, for example, just a few months ago, I was asked to present to all the city mayors here in the Lower Mainland, which was a huge honor. So they recognize it's a problem. So I say at the civic level, there's interest. We've had a very close election provincially, and I will say that the Conservatives have invited me to present to all of them, and they have really followed up. And I've never had such interest provincially before.
Okay.
So they have been very, very interested. And then at the federal level, yes, I would say, again, it depends on which province it is. It's typically other provinces. The MPs will, so for example, I did get to present to the whole caucus, all the MPs in Saskatchewan.
Right.
So all the MPs in British Columbia have heard from me. They know of my work. So is there any, here, I know what I can tell you that's really exciting. Our former Lieutenant Governor General, Janet Austin, she introduced our human trafficking prevention network just a year and a half ago. Now, that sets BC apart right there. That is fantastic.
Right.
So different communities are signing up with that network. I think Prince George was the first community in British Columbia to sign on with them. Crime Stoppers has signed on with them. The Vancouver Police Department signed on with them. So there's good news for British Columbia is that network.
Well, that's wonderful, but is it being enforced? Does the police have the tools to enforce it? It's great that politicians are talking about it, but actually it is going to be implemented by the police. So what do you find over there? What are their challenges that they are talking about?
Okay, the police, again, I present to the police and they are very supportive of what I'm doing for sure.
Right.
Their hands are somewhat tied because, I don't have to be politically correct because I'm just a private citizen doing this. So they are told by the government, the provincial government, what the priorities are, whereas I'm just reporting what is going on from the ground and the grassroots and the parents that are calling me, and I'm saying, here's the problem. So it really does come down to the Premier having to make this a priority.
Be Amazing campaign. What is this campaign?
Well, it's Be Amazing. Let's stop altogether sexual exploitation. Let's stop exploiting the vulnerable.
Right.
It's the young ones, it's our youth, it's our children, and they deserve in a democracy in this great country of Canada to be protected.
Right. While the legislatures or the MPs will be doing their work, what awareness you're raising, but when it comes to the community, how can we stop it?
I just keep it super simple. Learn, share, alert.
Okay.
So learn about the issue, which we're doing right now.
Right.
Share about it. Talk about it with your family, with your children. Talk. And then alert your local politician. Alert your mayor. Alert your MLA. Say, this is important. Alert your MP. And then support your police. But you've got to start talking. It's amazing what individuals, the power that they have. But they have to, we can't take our freedom for granted.
Absolutely.
We have to exercise it. Right. So if we see things in our communities not going in the right direction, we have to speak up. Right. And what I've learned as I'm getting older, I have a voice, and that voice makes a difference. So I say to everybody in your community, in any community, your voice makes a difference.
Kudos to you for taking up this issue so bravely, and of course you must be facing challenges also. Have you been threatened sometime about what you are trying to expose and trying to create awareness?
A little bit, but I'll be honest with you. I keep the police updated on everything that I'm doing, and any concerns I have, I tell the police immediately. And this is what I'm saying to the public.
Right.
If you're concerned about anything, report it.
Yeah.
Report it. The police can't act on anything if they don't.
Unless you report it.
Exactly.
Are you satisfied with the kind of, approach that is being adopted by the politicians so far? You have been presenting to them, but do you think that they are coming up to that level, what you expected?
No, No, absolutely not. Okay, so the number one thing that I'm opposed to, and I think the majority of British Columbians are opposed to, is the full decriminalization of hard drugs in this province. This is a bad policy. It is a disaster because it's normalizing hard drug use with younger and younger and younger children.
Right.
And then along with that goes the sex trafficking. They'll end up dead.
Right.
And I've seen enough programs and I've had enough people talk to me to say, this policy has got to be reversed. I mean, Oregon, the state of Oregon tried it for a little while and they reversed it. So I do need the premier and I do need the current government to reverse that policy.
How has the role of the media been as far as creating awareness is concerned about this particular?
Oh, well, you're it. You are the media.
Right.
I mean,
overall, what kind of
you
response?
have been courageous to even raise this, in my opinion.
Right.
Generally, the media doesn't touch it. Now, unless I present to a small community like Grand Forks or Williams Lake.
So some small kind of...
exactly. The small outlets, the small papers will report on it and they do a great job. The Squamish Chief, White Rock, they'll do... But in terms of the mainstream, the bigger CTV, CBC, Global News, CKNW, I need them to get this out. Now, CTV did do a human trafficking series. I don't know if you followed it with Michelle Bernoro. She did an excellent job, but we need a lot more of that.
It should be constant so that awareness keeps on increasing.
Exactly. Because our children really don't know. See, they have a device, and they don't know that they're opening themselves up to the entire world. And I would say to parents out there, age 16 for a device, for an iPhone. That's what the U.S. Surgeon General in the States is now saying. Because with all the evidence we have now, age 16.
Well, Cathy, in our community, we are giving these devices as young as 2-year-old children, who are playing because mothers want to feed them and they want to keep them busy, but they forget that they're getting addicted and ultimately it's going to be a big challenge. So if you find someone who is getting involved in this, apart from calling 911, is there any other number where somebody can call so that they can report it?
I'm even going to hold up my poster right there. So we have a national human trafficking hotline number, and they're not getting calls from BC.
Okay.
So I want everybody to know this number.
So the number is 1-833-900-1010.
Exactly. Okay. And there's another organization I want everybody to know is Victim Link BC.
Okay.
You will get help here. They will also help you. And the last thing, here's this poster that the RCMP have put together. This is a great poster. Our girls and our boys are not for sale.
Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. Well, again, thank you for raising this voice. And now you have come up with your book, Child Sex Trafficking in Canada, and this is the second edition. What all have you tried to cover in this book, and what are your messages, I would say, to the community?
The main message in that book is here are strategies on how to stop it.
Okay.
So I really wrote it for parents. I wrote it for teachers. I wrote it for leaders.
Right.
I wrote it for frontline service providers. It's very readable, but lots of strategies. So I've kept it super simple, but it's filled with stories of what people have reported to me. And then at the back of every chapter are endnotes where I give all the research to back up everything I've said. Then at the very back of the book, I've got all the research, the books, and the videos that are available on this topic. So I would call it the textbook on the issue for all of Canada.
Well, an excellent job that you are doing. And towards the end, as you have talked about what all is happening, but now the question is, until and unless the community comes forward, starts working on these issues, we will not see the results that we desire. So what would be your message to parents? As you said, don't give them these devices till they are 16. Apart from that, how can they be of assistance so that those who have by mistake or by some allurement got into this, they can be brought back?
I will always say to parents, stay connected to your children. Just stay connected. Stay connected. Your children have to know that no matter what, you're there for them, you love them, you're there to help them. But also I would say to parents, talk. I would get my children in the car and drive them everywhere.
Right.
That's where we had the best conversations. But again, learn, share, alert. Keep that in mind. But this is great conversation to have when you go out to get an ice cream cone, when you go to watch a football game. Just have these conversations. You gave the key constantly.
Right. But many times we consider it to be a taboo to even talk about such things. So what would be a message to the youngsters who have been enticed into it, allured, or just by mistake they have fallen into this prey?
I would say you've got to talk to somebody. I mean, the number one, well, there's two questions that young people ask me. They want to know what a healthy relationship is. And mom and dad, that's where you can role model what a healthy relationship is. Number two, they want to know who's a safe adult. Who can I trust? And it's really simple. A red flag is if somebody wants something from you and there's strings attached, that's a red flag.
Right.
If they're giving you gifts and anything that's too good to be true, that's a red flag.
Right.
So a safe adult is someone who will encourage you to be part of your family, who will encourage you to get help, who will support you to be your best. That's a safe adult. Anything else where there's strings attached, red flag. Don't go near those people.
Right.
And I would say to any young people, your family is really important. Your family is important. And I would say to parents, you are actually the most important influencers in your child's life.
Right.
Don't forget, I know sometimes you don't feel like you are,
Yeah.
but you are.
Well, it's wonderful what you are doing. And apart from that, my last question would be, you were motivated by your son and you started this movement. But now, what is it that is motivating you to continue it and spread this message to the entire community so that this menace comes to an end?
Well, I'm a grandmother. I mean, it does it right there.
Right.
I mean, when I see the little ones, it's just wrong. We don't hurt the little ones. I think that's my main incentive for doing what I'm doing.
And right, as you said, the unfortunate part is that girls as young as 9 years old also are being lured into this, and the entire community should come forward and start speaking against it. Cathy Peters, it was a pleasure talking to you. Our best wishes that you continue with this noble cause, what you are doing, and you may achieve more success and people come and stand for what is right. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Harpreet.
Thank you. So ਇਹ ਸਨ ਕੈਥੀ ਪੀਟਰਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਿ ਕਿਤਾਬ ਲਿਖੀ ਹੈ ਅਤੇ ਜੋ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ ਇਹ ਬੜੀਆਂ ਹੀ ਡਰਾਵਨੀਆਂ ਨੇ, ਸਾਨੂੰ ਡਰਾਉਂਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ, ਲੇਕਿਨ ਹਕੀਕਤ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਇੱਕ ਚਾਈਲਡ ਸੈਕਸ ਟੂਰਿਜ਼ਮ ਦਾ ਹੱਬ ਬਣਦਾ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਉਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਲੋਅਰ ਮੇਨਲੈਂਡ, ਵੈਂਕੂਵਰ, ਮੌਂਟਰੀਅਲ, ਇਹ ਥਾਵਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਇਹ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਇੱਥੇ ਇਹ ਸੈਕਸ ਟ੍ਰੈਫਿਕਿੰਗ ਹੋ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਭਾਈਚਾਰੇ 'ਚ ਵੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਕਿ ਬਹੁਤ ਤੇਜ਼ੀ ਨਾਲ ਇਹ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਫੈਲ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਨੇ। ਇਸ ਨੂੰ ਰੋਕਣ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਯਤਨ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਅਤੇ ਇਹ ਯਤਨ ਕਰਦੇ ਰਹਿਣਗੇ, ਪਰ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀਜ਼ ਕਦੋਂ ਜਾਗਣਗੀਆਂ? ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਕਿ ਕੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨਾਲ ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ ਤਿਆਰ ਹਾਂ? ਕੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਨਜ਼ਰ ਰੱਖ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਜਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਡਿਵਾਈਸਿਸ ਦੇ ਕੇ, ਫੋਨਸ ਦੇ ਕੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਣਾ ਪੱਲਾ ਛੁਡਾ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ? ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਆਮ ਤੌਰ ਉੱਤੇ ਭਾਈਚਾਰੇ 'ਚ ਇਹੀ ਦੇਖਿਆ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਕਿ ਛੋਟੇ ਛੋਟੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹ ਆਈਫੋਨਸ ਦੇ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ, ਇਹ ਨਾ ਸਮਝਦੇ ਹੋਏ ਕਿ ਇਸ ਦਾ ਕੀ ਇੰਪੈਕਟ ਪੈ ਸਕਦਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ। ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀਆਂ ਤਬਾਹ ਹੋ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਨੇ। ਬੱਚੀਆਂ ਐਜ਼ ਯੰਗ ਐਜ਼ 9 years old, 9 ਸਾਲ ਦੀਆਂ ਬੱਚੀਆਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਲਿਓਰ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਗਲਤ ਰਾਹਾਂ ਤੇ ਤੁਰ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਨੇ। ਅਤੇ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅੰਤਰਰਾਸ਼ਟਰੀ ਵਿਦਿਆਰਥੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਸ਼ੋਸ਼ਣ ਬਾਰੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਵੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਾਰੀ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰ ਚੁੱਕੇ ਹਾਂ। ਕਦੋਂ ਇਹ ਸਮਾਪਤ ਹੋਏਗਾ ਇਹ ਮੁੱਦਾ? ਇਸ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਸਾਰੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਨੂੰ ਅੱਗੇ ਆਉਣਾ ਪਏਗਾ ਅਤੇ ਕੈਥੀ ਪੀਟਰਸ ਵਰਗੀਆਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਸ਼ਖਸੀਅਤਾਂ ਨੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਨਕਰੇਜ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੈ, ਪਰ ਨਾਲ ਖਲੋ ਕੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਦਬ ਕੇ ਆਵਾਜ਼ ਨੂੰ ਬੁਲੰਦ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾਏ ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਇਸ ਸਮੱਸਿਆ ਦਾ ਹੱਲ ਲੱਭਿਆ ਜਾ ਸਕੇ। ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਦੀ ਕਰਨੀ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਹੀ ਸਮਾਪਤੀ। ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਸੰਪਰਕ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੋਏ ਤਾਂ 604 603 7555 ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ WhatsApp ਰਾਹੀਂ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ ਜਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਈਮੇਲ ਕਰੋ harpreetsingh@gmail.com। ਇੱਥੇ ਹੀ ਕਰਨਾ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਦੀ ਸਮਾਪਤੀ। ਸਮਾਂ ਕੱਢ ਕੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਵਿੱਚ ਸ਼ਾਮਲ ਹੋਣ ਲਈ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ। ਫਿਰ ਮੁਲਾਕਾਤ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ। Have a wonderful day.